Alright you guys, so today we're going to be working on the Bansenshukai. Bansenshukai means 10,000 rivers flow into one sea. It is known as the Bible of Ninjutsu. It was written in 1676 by Fujibayashi Yasutake. It is the largest historical document on ninjutsu ever written. Before we begin and start talking about the Bansenshukai and work in specific techniques and understanding specific philosophies and strategies and principles and things like that, I would like to discuss one particular subject. Now, an individual made a comment on one of my videos, and I did talk about it on social media, and I'm not going to really get into that in this particular video, although I did shoot a video regarding that particular question and his question regarding real ninjutsu versus martial arts. I did shoot that video. I will upload that video to the YouTube channel, but we're not really talking about that post per se and that conversation per se, but what spurs this lesson today before the Bansenshukai is the words he used, and he used the words real ninjutsu versus martial arts. And he basically, what he was trying to do was trying to separate ninjutsu from Bujutsu. I'm going to cut it down to today's lesson. He was trying to separate real ninjutsu, or what he sees as real ninjutsu, from Bujutsu, or martial arts. Okay, so ninjutsu, Bujutsu. Now, you guys all know, so when I start all of my videos, at least the ones where I go out and about and going for a walk and all that kind of stuff, and it's not a video shot on the dojo floor, I always say my name, and I always say I teach authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, right? Because we teach it to its truest form in history. I never say we teach authentic ninjutsu and nothing else. I always say we teach authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu. We teach both. You can study bujutsu, or the ways of the warrior, without ninjutsu. You cannot study ninjutsu without Bujutsu. Now I've already said that on the video, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of people on YouTube. Their feathers are ruffled and they're all sorts of pissed and all this kind of stuff. But the reality of it is, even the ancient scrolls and the historical documents support this particular position that I have. In the world of ninja, right, in the ninja community, there are three scrolls, right, three historical documents. Right? And these three historical documents are kind of known as the three treasures. You have the Ninpiden, the Bansenshukai, and the Shoninki. Today we're going to be working out of the Bansenshukai. But I want to talk about a common theme between all three, so you guys understand where I'm coming from as your instructor in ninjutsu. So when you look at these three historical texts, they're kind of like they're the three treasures in the ninja community. It's because these three particular historical documents, the Bansenshukai, Ninpiden, and Shoninki, all three of these historical documents are preserved and kept, and we all have them in the present day. They don't belong to any organization. They don't belong to any specific ryuha. These are ancient documents that have been preserved and kept. They're in the public record, and anyone who studies the arts of the ninja can make a reference to these particular treasures, if you will, these three documents, right? Now when I say you can study Bujutsu without ninjutsu, but you can't study ninjutsu without Bujutsu, that is because of the position that I take from reading historical texts. Before we get into the actual part about the Bansenshukai, because that's really what today's lesson is focused on, the Bansenshukai, let me talk about the other two real quick. The Shoninki was written in 1681 by Natori Masatake. In the Shoninki, Natori Masatake clearly states, the art of the shinobi is an art to be conducted by bushi warriors. One of the three treasures of ninjutsu, one of the three historical documents written by Natori Masatake in 1681, the art of the shinobi, meaning ninjutsu, is an art that should be conducted by bushi warriors, samurai. So what do bushi warriors do? They train in the arts of war. They train in bujutsu. So when you have people saying things like, well, I want real ninjutsu, but I don't want the martial arts. Well, according to the Shoninki, for those of you guys some of you guys don't like the Shoninki, and I get that, you guys behind the camera on YouTube or wherever watching this, maybe you guys think the Shoninki is just a worthless document. I don't think that it is. According to Natori Masatake, the art of the shinobi should be conducted by bushi warriors. Ninjutsu should be done by samurai. He clearly makes that particular point. Do you guys understand what I'm saying from that? Right. And you guys understand what samurai, when we talk about Bushi warriors and what they trained in. So it is the taijutsu, the jujutsu, the kenjutsu, iaijutsu, bojutsu, tantojutsu, sojutsu, which is spear fighting, kyujutsu, which is archery. That was the arts of the warrior, right? So he's clearly saying samurai or bushi should be the ones doing ninjutsu. Okay, let's move on to the Ninpiden. The Ninpiden was written by Hattori Hanzo in 1560. Hattori Hanzo was one of the most famous ninja of all time. No one can even deny how famous Hattori Hanzo has become. He is beyond his life. He's in every anime and movies, and he's just this big figure now. Kind of like Miyamoto Musashi is greater than life in the genre, right? In the Ninpiden, Hattori Hanzo says, "These shinobi can excel even in combat. One of these warriors is a match for 1,000, and they have succeeded in countless number of incidents." The shinobi can excel even in combat. Combat is combat. You're fighting, right? Combat is not sitting outside on a hill, watching someone eat and drink, making sure there's someone in the house, and then striking a fire and doing a smoke signal. Combat is combat, right? He literally says the shinobi can excel even in combat. Then he goes on to say, and these warriors, one of these warriors, he used the word warrior in the Ninpiden, one of these warriors can take on 1,000. He didn't say one of these ninja can take on 1,000 warriors. No, Hattori Hanzo made it very clear. He is talking about the shinobi can excel even in combat, even in fighting. And one of these warriors, meaning someone who goes to war, and he's talking about the ninja, one of these warriors can take on 1,000. How do you get that from the Ninpiden that doesn't mean they are hardened ass warriors? They know how to fight. They do the martial arts. They do the jujutsu and taijutsu and daken taijutsu and ju taijutsu and kenjutsu, iaijutsu, tantojutsu, and they know how to fight. They are literally warriors. The word warrior itself is the quote from Hattori Hanzo, arguably one of the greatest ninja of all time. Do you guys catch what I'm saying? So the Shoninki says that ninjutsu should be carried out by samurai. The Ninpiden says that shinobi can excel even in combat, and one of these warriors can take on 1,000. Sounds like a pretty big badass to me, doesn't it? But since today we're talking about the Bansenshukai, maybe we should talk about a quote from Fujibayashi Yasutake. In the Bansenshukai, Fujibayashi Yasutake clearly states, "There are secrets to the art of Shinobi no Jitsu to kill the enemy general." There are secrets in Shinobi no Jitsu to kill the enemy general. You can use Shinobi no Jitsu to kill the enemy general. Because there's other things in the Bansenshukai that makes that statement really powerful. And most people overlook it. In the Bansenshukai, Fujibayashi Yasutake talks about how the principles for kenjutsu is the same principles for ninjutsu. And he talks about how in kenjutsu, when you're sword fighting, if the enemy isn't close, you can't cut him down. So you don't want to swing a sword if you can't cut the opponent. And he makes kind of an analogy towards a ninjutsu. You don't want to move in. He even says the people who are dumb in sword fighting, they try to cut when they can't cut. And he makes an analogy. He's like, well, same thing in ninjutsu. People try to infiltrate the castle, but you can't infiltrate until your opponent moves. So when the swordsman makes a move, you can cut. When the enemy makes a move, you can infiltrate. So he makes a comparison to kenjutsu and ninjutsu having the same principles. But he did not say kenjutsu and ninjutsu is the same thing. Later on in the Bansenshukai, Fujibayashi Yasutake clearly states that and he says, I'm not going to get into it here, but you should be trained in kenjutsu, swordsmanship, and iai, meaning iaijutsu. Clearly, he understands swordsmanship. Clearly, he understands that kenjutsu and iaijutsu is not ninjutsu, because he's saying, this is ninjutsu. I'm not going to talk about kenjutsu and iaijutsu, but you need to train in it. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up Because now let's get back to the statement on what Fujibayashi Yasutake said about you can use Shinobi no Jutsu to kill the enemy general. He says, it is possible to kill the enemy general with Shinobi no Jutsu, and if this is done, the benefit will be immeasurable. There is a secret in Shinobi no Jutsu on the skills required to kill the enemy commander. He did not say, it is possible for a shinobi to kill the enemy using kenjutsu. He didn't say it's possible for a shinobi to kill the enemy commander with tanto jutsu. He did not say it's possible for the shinobi to kill the enemy general with solo jutsu or spear fighting. He did not say that it's possible for the shinobi to kill the enemy commander using kyujutsu or archery. No. Let's be very clear on what he said, because he talks about spears, he talks about swords, he talks about you need to be trained in swordsmanship. This is not someone that is a dumb shit. This is someone who wrote the largest historical document on ninjutsu. And he clearly says, it is possible to kill the enemy general using Shinobi no Jutsu. Can you kill someone by watching them cook their breakfast and then reporting to your Lord on when they cook their breakfast? Can you kill someone by watching how many people walk in and out of their house, run on top of the hill, strike a little fire, do a little smoke screen so they know when to bring the troops in? No, that isn't killing, is it? I think it's very clear that when the Shoninki says ninjutsu should be carried out by samurai, and the Ninpiden says ninjas can excel in combat and one can take on 1,000, and the Bansenshukai says there are secrets in Shinobi no Jutsu or ninjutsu and you can kill people with it, that they're not talking about kenjutsu. They're talking about ninjutsu. So it is possible to study Bujutsu, the arts of the warrior, without ninjutsu. But it is not possible to study ninjutsu without Bujutsu. Because here we do things the true historical way. Here we teach real ninjutsu. And real ninjutsu needs to be combined with classical samurai Bujutsu. So now that we've started that particular lesson going into this, I want you to marinate that because that's going to go right into this next little lesson, okay?